Firefighting, it's a stressful job at any moment.
We didn't have much equipment when I first went to work. It was terrible.
Get in and put the fire out, and you had to go into the fire. And back when I first came here, there wasn't breathing apparatus. So we breathed a lot of smoke and
Hard work mentality, get it done, rest later.
Everybody from day one has had a hand in getting it to where it's at.
We all got along. Of course, when I went to work there wasn't no training or nothing. I'd never even, and I wasn't one that, I'd always wanted to be a fireman when I was a little bit child or something like my grandsons was and what. We didn't have a fire department when I was born, little like them. They were all good guys. 1957, $235 a month.
I started in 1965, up to 197 after 6 months.
In May of 1974, pay was $550 a month.
1977. It wasn't like $600 a month.
1979, $350 a month.
89, I can't remember back then. Yeah, I'm trying to bust 30, so I know it wasn't much. I know we qualified for reduced lunches and stuff like that. It was
March of '99. It was horrible. I think it was 17,000 a year.
You want to go to work? And I said, yes, sir. He said, when do you want to go to work? I said, right now. We don't have a bed for you. You'll have to go home tonight. You just hang around and catch a truck. He said, you probably know a little bit about what's going on. Well, back then, everybody rode on the back of the truck, so you had to just grab an old coat they give you and an old helmet that they give you. You was part of the crew.
When you came to work, they said, you get on the back of that truck and do what that other fireman does on the back of that truck. You run the tailboards back then. So, and that's all the education you got.
And the captain said, get on the back of that truck and it goes out and you don't miss it. And that's the training I had when I first started. Most time trying to put your coat on while you're, riding. And I don't know why we didn't get somebody killed back then.
Your initiation, they said, put your arm over the bar and bend your knees. Because when you hit those dips, they said it'll throw you up over into the hose bin if you don't.
I went in that office and they give me a pair of used bunker gear and took me out, showed me where the tailboard of that engine was. That's my training.
Extent of your training?
Showed me where to put my bunker gear and how to step into it, get it on, and be on that tailboard when that thing pulled out.
There was 4 of us. I mean, it was, of course, the driver, lead truck driver, and the captain was in the lead truck, and then 2 of us on the tailboard. My first shift here, I started in January. Obviously, it was cold, and that night, of course, it was better. We changed at 4:30 in the afternoon back then. But that night, I went to bed, and of course, I was still wide awake. The alarm came on at 2 o'clock in the morning, structure fire on East Munson. And like I said, I was still wide awake because I was so nervous. But anyhow, we came out here and got on the truck, bumped out, got on the truck, was taking off, and it was sleeting. And I so remember that night. I was trying to get under that tarp and I was thinking, what have I got myself into?
But man, when you hired on in a fire department as a rookie, you was a rookie for a year. You could get told to go home at any time. But rookies had to do everything. Make the coffee. They had to check the packs. They had to clean the bathrooms. They had to wash the dishes. They had to do all that stuff. I did it.
You come in, of course, the rookie got the bathrooms. It went back up, you went out and you checked your truck. Whoever was riding the truck, the driver was in charge of it. But everybody, with the exception of the captain, was out there checking the truck, making sure they knew where all the items were. And then we'd go in and clean inside of the station. If the trucks rolled out of the station, they were washed before they come back in.
They taught their own rookie school, but it was just, we just did our own. It wasn't rookie school where other people came in. It was just whoever was here. I did a 2-week crash course in there with Gerald. Got a month's worth of rookie school. Never saw an essentials manual until I took my lieutenant's test.
The lowest man, he cleaned the bathrooms, cleaned all the toilets, and then he pulled the mops out and cleaned the kitchen. Then he went outside and we pulled the apparatus out every day and hosed down and squeegeed the floor every shift.
You kind of respected your elders, so to speak, and they've been here for a while and knew what they was doing, and you didn't want to go against them, so you just kind of went along with it and did what they said and when they said, or I did anyway, because I just wanted to fit in and do the things that they needed me to do, just whatever it was.
Sweep and mop the station every day. Rookies usually got tasked with cleaning the bathrooms, and I was cleaning the bathrooms whenever I left.
Wash wax, test fire plugs, just general things keep us busy and keep the equipment in shape. Yeah, we'd all just kind of put our heads together and pick kind of what we were gonna have for the night. And once we decided something, then we'd go to the store and get it rounded up.
I mean, we made meals off of pinto beans and cornbread and fried potatoes. Every Sunday, and everybody looked forward to it. And whenever they needed a break, we'd go down and get steaks, and everybody looked forward to the steak night. We couldn't go to the store. You either brought it, or we had an old gentleman that come up every morning. He'd take an order and he'd go to the store packed. So we'd tell him we want a certain brand, and he'd bring something different. He said, this one was 30 cents cheaper.
But yeah, they played dominoes and ping pong all the time. Ping pong. Had pool table then too, nice pool table. We had cigarette machine, the candy machine, and Coke machines that we all owned and ran ourselves with our flower fund. And we had to pay for everything. We had to pay for everything ourselves, all our coffee, tea, all your condiments, everything like that. So there always had to be coffee going in. It was truck stop coffee too. It was strong. Like that tea, they used to make tea. There was the syrup and the unsweet. It wasn't just syrup. Tea, it was real sweet stuff. We always, whatever Kroger, because Kroger was right there, and whatever Kroger had on sale, that's what we were eating.
Now Sundays was always the same. We cooked a big pot of beans and a big pan of fried potatoes and cornbread.
Every Sunday was bean and cornbread day.
You drop one of them little old snakes about that long, the play snake deal, but it was my boot. I went to the fire with that thing in my boot. The chief had done it, George Craig.
They just put my bed on, took the frame out, and put Coke cans under there. After a long run at night and finally got to lay down, big crash to the ground. Then everybody throw books at you, said, "Shut up!"
You never knew what was going to happen. I remember one morning I got up, opened my locker in there, and I don't know how many cans of shaving cream, but they filled my whole locker up with shaving cream. I opened it up and it just, everything I had in there had shaving cream on it.
If you was up here at Central, there'd be a guy, 2 on the bumper and 2 on the lead truck when you go out on the structure. Then the subs would come to you. But I only had the West End at that time. No command captain there, and he overseen it. He was the road the lead truck.
Yeah, when I came on in, George Cravens was the fire chief. He'd been here for quite some time. Bill Tutter was assistant chief. And then you had the shift captains, Bob Cassell, Cy Dillingham, Blue Oval. And then you had lieutenants who were Chow, we called him Chow, Grady Cobble, Larry Weaver, and Pops Mathers. They stayed out here at West End, Station 2.
You had the chief, assistant chief, captain for each shift. Lieutenant was here at Station 2, full crew of 5-man crew. 3 was just a 2-man.
We had an ambulance crew and a fire crew at West End. We had an ambulance crew two fire crews up here, and then south side just had 2 people.
And we had taken over the ambulance in '72. We had 2 Suburbans, 2 high-top Suburbans. We called them A1 and A2, and the only way I could tell, they were both white. One of them had a blue light on top, the other one had a red one. So you couldn't tell them apart. Later in the '70s, we got our first high-top van. We had those until we went to the current type, to the modular type of Ford truck chassis that we started. The south side, what you call Station 3, was out on the highway, out on Texoma Parkway. West End, Station 2 was right where it is, but it didn't look like it did now. It was just one building. They said, take A3 to West End. Said, you're going to be out there from now on. And I think he and I rode out for like 10 years out there.
We was in the Salvation Army. That's where the fire actually started. We could have lost more. When the roof come in, I'm real sure that's when T.O. went through. Me and another fireman was up on the 2nd floor, and that come loose. We felt pretty fortunate to be able to get out of there, because it just tremendous acceleration of that fire when that roof came in, broke through the firewall and got into the building.
And it's Christmas Eve. I was cutting hair. Heard the sirens. Looked down there and saw the ladder truck. Don was captain. It was in the afternoon. Walked down there and he said, y'all gonna need some help? He said, yeah. So I went to the station, got my gear. That was that. Super, like freezing cold, 5 degrees or some kind of crap like that. Everything, the whole, half of Main Street was frozen and every fire department in the county was here. I remember old Rabbit, Eddie Ray. Stopped giving everything, Tim was up on the roof with T.O. I remember me and Larry, were trying to go in the back of Kingston's up the stairs to go up there to get to him. And, Danny Taylor pulled us out. Said, no, come on out. Larry didn't want to come.
I mean, it was like 0 degrees out there. Everything would freeze just as soon as it hit the ground. Then it got over to started Salvation Army, and then it got over to the Bell store. We had the old ladder truck back then. They set me up on the ladder. The Bell's roof started doing like this. It was smoke puffing out around the ears. That's the other thing about the blow. I was put on fog since it blows, you know. And I did. But it was so cold, the water had turned to ice, and it was, when it was coming out of the pipe, it sounded like pea gravel, because it was ice. Terrible. Coldest I've ever been in my life.
But yeah, I mean, of course, I was in there, I was on the hose first and you know, on the fire, and then later on, that's when we had the old engine 10, and they put me on that, you know, maintaining it and keeping it going, and you know, again, it was so cold that night that having icicles hanging off of it and all that, but I was sitting on the back of the engine 10, it was so cold. Everybody's already so down and everything, you know, because we lost a great firefighter. But then, and in a little while, you know, when we got the fire knocked down, and we started, we went in and started, recovering.
I was the captain on duty, extremely cold. We had run our legs off with water breaks, water main breaks, going out cutting water off at people's homes, trying to get up and check for extension. Like I say, I saw the smoke puffing, indicating possible backdraft. Walked around, Bill was starting to try to get them on the radio, heard this sound, and then it just blew up. I ducked my head and never closed my eyes whenever I heard the sound and exploded. You could just see glass and stuff come out past us. And Bill was...
So y'all probably thought you lost more than just T.O.?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I even went up on top of the building with a cup of fire. It was so much smoke coming back, we couldn't get upstairs. It was just, I mean, it was just unbelievable amount of smoke coming out. And they tried to get up the back stairs of it, and even with MASH, I mean, they couldn't they couldn't get up there. We cut a small vent hole in front of the building there, and it was a huge amount of smoke coming out. And I think I told Ron to have somebody to see if they could go up and enlarge it or cut another hole or something. And, so they went up there and, T.O. was a roofer, I mean, he knows about roofs. And I don't know to this day, but I think that building had, one of those skylights in it, and I think that's where he fell through. But, and I don't know why he was really back that far, but, he was, I know, trying to do the best he could. And then, after this happened, I sent Larry Weaver and cut the door in this Bill's building, because we thought it had burned through the deal. To this day, well, that was a mistake, but it had a backdraft and it blows a couple of them out that front door. And we got to stop. We could have lost 4 instead of 1.
It's our downtown fire that was really a tragic fire, but it was bad timing, the weather was bad, everything was bad that day. They were calling me in, I was off duty, and just said, go straight to the fire. So I got my gear, went to the fire, primarily attacking the Salvation Army, trying to maintain Salvation and keep it right there. Somebody got to send smoke coming from bales. Put together 3 guys, I being one of them, Tom Floyd, but Dennis Minus was the other. We were going to go in and check at this building, see if we could attack that 2nd floor. We was laying lines, just uncharged lines, inch and a half, up the staircase. I could tell we were in trouble. We were going to back off this and back there up. When it did, he said the roof of that building just lifted up. He said, I pretty much knew where Tom and Dennis was at. Well, I followed that line back, and it just, the wall was closed. And I figured I was cut off, but broke my helmet off and everything, but I still had quite a bit of air left. I could hear fire really picking up in the end of that building. And Tom's got to be right around here somewhere. Well, I found Tom back a little ways from the staircase. I told him, Tom, we got to get out of here. We ain't got no time. And of course, I didn't have to tell him at one time. Dennis, we ain't got much time. We got to get out of here. This thing's fixing to get it on. And of course, we all got out and we were very blessed. It was really a tragic death T.O. losing his life.
On the ambulances, we were much better at cleaning up and to try to make sure the men, you're exposed to, you don't even know what. They got masks, the rubber gloves that we wore, depending on keeping, washing your hands. We didn't have rubber gloves to wear. I think about the time we got paramedics is when we took a giant leap because we were exposed to more blood and things because you were starting IVs and intubating and, defibrillating and all that. And everything seemed to take a giant leap forward.
We went from the old van type ambulances with hardly any room to speak of to the box ambulances, and we had more storage, more equipment, better equipment. Definitely have somebody else to help you with CPR. When they started finally sending an engine out with the ambulance, that was one of the best improvements they ever did.
The department started to progress. We started getting nice uniforms, started getting this education, all kinds of new equipment, and it just progressed better and better from there. Everything was handwritten. The computer age came around. Everything got faster, better, and better educational tools. When we started on ambulance, you had a little gym bag about this big. It had 5 airways, black and blue bag, a few gauze, some tape, and that was about it. You had a backboard you had an oxygen bottle you actually carried, 4 board splints, 2 long ones, 2 short. And for extrication to it, you had an old coat box. You had a hammer, a pair of pliers, a screwdriver, and a hacksaw. That's all you had. It was mainly a load and go deal. Anytime you went to emergency, 2 amps drove like hell to the hospital as fast as you could.
When I first hired him, we were way, way behind. We had old trucks. They got phased out. Then we had to move vans for ambulances. They finally phased them out. Matter of fact, we had one, when I first hired him, we had one that was like a station wagon. And the cots, those were the ones you had to fold down, pick up, and stick the whole damn thing in there. I hated them things. But the biggest improvement was when they started running the fire trucks with ambulances. We went from having back problems all the time to where nobody wouldn't walk around with backache all the time. I went through 3 chiefs, and each chief brought it a little bit better. Our equipment got a whole lot better.
SCBA's was a big deal. Everybody had their own mask, and we had enough units on all these. Prior to that, there might have been 2 or 3 in the whole department. We wound up getting handhelds. Prior to that, there wasn't any communication much. We started getting better equipment.
Gotten a lot smarter, I'd say, or smarter, not harder. I know there's a lot of times that we probably took a lot more chances than we should have. Later on, they added the personal alert motion things. You had to keep up with the radio, you had to keep up with this, and we had to have a little red wagon to pull behind us to carry all the stuff, you know. So, but the accountability was a lot better. You know, if you get in a bad way, that you have somebody looking out to help get you out, maybe.
Well, I think the biggest change that I ever seen was the incident command system, to where you did a size up, everybody coming in knew what you were dealing with, and you could start doing assignments at that point. You know what everybody's responsibility is. Back in the day, you didn't even know what you were pulling up on. The size up was just, hey, bring me some water.
First of all, the gear to light years. If you look at the protective gear that we were wearing when I retired, it was light years ahead of what we wore when we came to work here. The pass systems and a personal alert safety system that if you didn't move at a certain time, it would start really super loud and accuse some people in fires to have to shake it because they didn't do enough. Every man had his own radio. Everybody had their own SCBA, had their own mask and everything.
Change that we ever made was starting a training program. Before that, you know, we just was a bunch of old boys fighting and going out and putting the fire out and all that. And didn't know a whole lot about what we were doing, anything. And everybody learned what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to do it. It made a lot of difference. That was the biggest change that I can think of that ever happened.
Number one is the training, the amount of training and everything. I think, you know, I mean, we had some then, but what I've seen now is, you know, really quite a bit. So, I mean, 'cause again, you know as well as I do, you just never know what you're gonna run into out there. You better be ready for any type of situation.
Yeah, I think the biggest change that I think, and that is leadership. The old models used to be the triangle where you had, you know, all your guys at the bottom and the top guy. Well, that changed completely 360 degrees to where the guy at the top is at the bottom, because all the other guys are the ones that meet the public. They're the ones that serve the public. They're out there and they're the important ones. And besides that, the lowest rookie here doesn't do his job or isn't doing his job. It's my responsibility to do it. So I want him to be out there selling the fire department, representing what people don't really know about the fire department in a good light, in a good way. That meant safety changes. That meant we care about the people, the firefighters. We care about their safety and their well-being, give them the best equipment to do the job with.
But this department's a good department. You know, it's done well. You look at the way things are now, it's so much smoother, so much better.
I met a state fire marshal when we lost Philip Townsend. I was going through cancer treatments, and he said, you come down there, and he said, I'm going to put you up in the firehouse. I went down there. fed me, stayed at any station I wanted to stay at. They even took me in the engine and dropped me off at MD Anderson. And then I would call the captain when I got through, and they'd pick me up in front of the hospital and take me back to the station. They fed you like kings, and you were treated like the fire chief. It's been nearly 20 years, and I still talk to the state fire marshal guy.
You know, when I was there, unfortunately, you know, you've got these small towns. Those little small places, they're known as cliques. You're either in the clique or you ain't in the clique. Well, Denison Fire was small, and so it was a little cliquish. And I would hope that that has changed some. I will say this, if you got in a bind or you got in trouble, man, they all showed up. No questions asked. Everybody showed up.
If you ever had a disagreement with somebody and you live with these people, you're going to have disagreements. And we laugh about it now because we're like brothers, you know. I served with a bunch of really great guys, and some of them were closer than family. And because you know their wives, you know their children, something happens, you know that. When they have a death in the family, you can see it on their faces. And you don't ever lose that. I've been retired for over 20 years now, and I'm still close to a lot of the guys. I look forward to seeing them every month.
An old house was fixing it up, and I was gonna move. I told some of them about it. I was gonna move the next day, not the next day off. And that morning, there were pickups everywhere. They all came up, helped me move. And they really didn't know me that good or nothing at the time either. It's brotherly love. I mean, I had never seen that many men where everybody got along.
To be an asset to the department, to not embarrass them, you know? I always felt like that was so important for us to, people be like, when you left and you walked away, they're like, wow, that was nice. Those guys were good. They did a good job. That just made things better. You know, if they said that or not, but they felt, they felt like we did all that we could. I think the education is important. Take the job seriously. This is not a job. This is a career. And you're not doing it for the money. You've got to have that compassion and that heart and that feeling in you that you want to help people and care about people.
Don't always listen to the gossip. Put your nose to the grindstone and set a goal and work towards it. Everybody, every department has got problems. If you start jumping, you're gonna find everybody has a problem. Work at a solution, and you gotta look at yourself in the mirror and know you did the best you could do with what you had at that time.
Listen to the guys who's been here. Listen to the guys, as you have now, have been here the amount of years you've been. I mean, listen to these guys. They know what's going on. They've seen a lot of stuff, you know. I mean, you may come in thinking, you know, I mean, you may went to the fire academy and all that. You haven't seen some of the stuff that you're going to see and dealt with some of the stuff. To me, it's good to find you somebody, because like I said, I had a guy when I started here. I mean, he took me under his wing and showed me and taught me so much.
Foremost is make darn sure this is what you want, because everybody can't do this job. Now, there's a difference between getting on a fire truck and getting on an ambulance. But man, this job is not for everybody. And if you can't stomach that kind of thing, you ain't never gonna make it. Study, get your training, and let your training take over. You know, let your mind recall the training, because it will. If you learned it, it'll recall it. There's things Danny Taylor taught us I'll never forget, you know, because he was a good teacher. You got a good department, a good support staff, dig in there and do your job.
Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty and get in there and do your best on whatever you can do. I mean, everybody's got strengths and weaknesses, and I was always thankful that, you know, people took what I had to offer. I didn't have the best of everything but as a team, we always put our best in, and usually you have the best outcome by doing that. So just do your best and be real. Try to be real, you know. It's always a good feeling just to help just the John Q public out there that was in, you know, they're in a bad way when they have to call us, and if we can just help their day out just a little bit, it would seem like always a little bit worth it, you know.
That I was equal with everybody. I mean, I didn't have no, you know, pets or nothing. I tried my best not to have, you know. I tried to be equal with them, you know, all of them. I never had any problems with anybody, really. I never did.
Honest, decent, caring. I cared deeply. Respect the city and respect the department, and that was always important to me. And I felt like I tried to do my best to never embarrass it, anybody at the department up here do something like that.
I'm probably like everybody else. We all make mistakes. I wasn't a perfect lieutenant or a perfect captain or a perfect paramedic. Neither was anybody else. Tell them that, I served with a bunch of really great guys, and some of them were closer than family. Everybody did their job. If you've ever put the gear on, and been faced with a fire, yeah, you know what it takes. Just doing my job.
That's what people remember me, that I did actually want to go out and help people. We did save lives. We didn't lose a foundation yet.
And I loved it when I started, and I loved it when I left. But now I loved every one of the guys.
I would hope the memory would be that I was a fireman's chief. I cared about the people, that, I'd go out on a limb to keep them here. And I still think that the primary responsibility of the fire chief is the firefighters. And take care of them. I think being a chief is having your door open where people, firefighters can come in, sit down, talk about issues and have confidence that it's not going to go anywhere else, and you get some support from that across that desk. I didn't see any sense in the chief trying to make it more stressful.
Treating the firemen like I'd like to be treated. And, I'd be better off just to forget about it. But, I don't think you could have asked for a better group of people than what we had. Other than that, it's just, I don't think it was anything I did. I think it's just them. I think we left a great group of guys when we left.
I didn't want to retire. Some days are hard. They're very hard. You go home just dead tired and in tears, saying, I can't believe I did that. But 2 days later, you're ready to do it again.
It was a great career for me. I wouldn't have wanted to do anything else. It was great. And
Something to be proud of, did a lot of fun memories here. But had some great memories and just better friends, and I'm glad to be a part of it. It's a great organization and best that's out there even today.
I enjoyed my time there. I did. There was ups and downs, obviously, in our era. It took care of me and my family, so I wouldn't trade it for the world. I believe Denison had one of the best stop rates. We went, they put the fires out. You put the wet stuff on the red stuff. That has not changed, and that ain't gonna change.
It's the hardest job you'll ever love. And it's true. If you don't love it, you're in the wrong business.
I'm proud to did it, but this was tough way back there. I think y'all in a lot better shape to continue from what we were back then. Proud we got a fire department like y'all here now.
It's a good profession, and I'm glad I was part of it. I'm not here anymore, but I still love the Denison Fire Department.